Hi ladies, instead of yesterday I'm coming live today and I'm going to talk to you about what I have been meaning to talk about for a very long time, and I find this a really important topic because if you listen to this video from the beginning till the end, it will give you huge value and understanding about why you might have not reached your weight loss goals. Why is that you are not feeling good or full? Maybe you feel stressed and anxious. It will give you a lot of answers about why you are making choices in your life that actually might not even be so good for you, but it serves you in a way, and how it serves you, you're also going to find out. And the way I will talk to you about this is sharing my story with you and what I went through my healing journey and my weight loss journey, because it really started with my weight loss journey. So I will start with, if you know my story, you have heard it many times, and I'm going to kind of keep repeating myself a little bit here. But in 2009, I ended up in the hospital. I was basically training one of my clients and I got dizzy, and then I ended up on the floor because I didn't feel good, and then I couldn't get up from the floor. So I got carried out of the hospital, from the gym to the hospital on an ambulance. That itself was pretty traumatic, you can only imagine. And I didn't really understand what anxiety was at that time. It didn't occur to me that I have had anxiety for years before that. Only after that I found out that I've been dealing with anxiety and even panic attacks since I was a kid. So this is kind of scary how many things sometimes we go through and we don't realize it, because this is just such a normal part of our lives that it just becomes normal and we don't even question it. So I ended up in the hospital and I was terrified. I thought that actually I'm dying, and it was a very real experience. I remember they put the EKG on me, they took all the blood tests, and I was in there for like 3 hours. They couldn't find anything. The only thing was that the EKG was going from, my heart rate was actually going from, not the EKG, but my heart rate was going from like 42 to 120. Every single time it hit 42, the machine started beeping, and then I freaked out even more. And then it went up to 128, and it was just going up and down, and I was just laying in the hospital bed trying to figure myself out a little bit. Hi Daniela, thank you for coming. So this is the hospital. I ended up going home that day. They let me go, and they let me go without giving me a diagnosis. So the only diagnosis that I knew that I wasn't dying, which was great, and that made me feel a little bit better, but I still had no idea. Hi. I still had no idea what was going on. And I remember going home. At that time I was married. I went home to my husband, and I sat on the couch, and I was sitting there and just basically staring in front of me, because I was fried. I remember that my brain was so fried. It literally felt like I got a shock. And I felt that my yes, I agree with you, Daniela, that not dying is a pretty good news. So I got another chance. I didn't die. But I was fried. My nervous system, literally, the way I felt, that my nervous system just gave out, and I crashed myself. And it was such an intense moment in my life, because I was the breadwinner. I was working much more than my ex-husband, and I needed to get back to work. I mean, we hardly made it financially, so I had to figure out the way how to get back to work, and I had no idea what I'm going to do. But I needed to find a solution. And I was always a very responsible, maybe a little bit over responsible person. So I said, I was like, all right, so I created this. What did I do, and how did I create this? And what can I do to help myself through it? And so I started searching, and that was the time when my healing journey started. I have always been going towards spirituality since I was a little kid. I had like some crazy thoughts. Even when I was a kid, I was this hypersensitive person in my life. I was very drawn to mystic things, but I never really pursued them. But this 2009 was really a turning point in my life, and I felt that okay, something is gonna change, and my survival depended on it. So I started a healing journey. And that healing journey, I feel like that it never ends. It still goes on. But I got to a certain point in this healing journey when I felt that I feel okay, and I understand the things. I had to go through, divorce. I claimed my needs. I got separated. I got divorced. Then I went to an abusive relationship. And then I had to get up from there. I had to go through so much to truly understand what got me to the hospital. Why did I make those choices that I got into a dysfunctional marriage, I got into an abusive relationship? I had to figure myself out, and I had to understand my decisions and my choices, because literally my survival was dependent on it. And I am in this country by myself. I didn't really have a lot of support around me. I do have my adopted mom. Thank God for her. She is an amazing, unbelievable woman who have always been on my side. And I did have friends on and off who were there for me sometimes and not there. Now I have total different people, Daniela, who are showing up for me, and I'm really appreciative of that. But I had to heal myself to be able to be here, to really own who I am, and make the right choices for myself. So I tell you what I found out on my healing journey. My healing journey took me way back to my childhood, and it's taking me a little bit of a time to openly talk about this, because I always felt a little bit guilty, because I felt that if I talk about my childhood, people will think that I'm bashing my parents and I'm bashing my family, and I didn't want to do that, and I'm still not going to do that, and I don't want to do that. I don't blame my family for anything that happened to me. I do believe that how we interpret things, we are also responsible for when we are children, and a lot of things that happened to me were not against me, but the way I interpret it seemed like that they were. So just to tell you little details, I was bullied by one of my teachers. But even before that, I just didn't feel safe. I didn't feel safe, and I think I didn't feel safe really is because I'm an empath, and I felt so much fear around me all the time, and I felt that I needed to. Even when I was a kid, I was very much into myself, and I was a little bit of an introvert as far as I can remember, and I do remember that when I was probably like 7 years old, 8 years old, that's when my teacher started bullying me. I also overate, so I was an emotional eater. And I did try getting sick after having food. I remember that. I think that I've heard that on the TV or something, and then I tried that, but that didn't work for me. And then I just remember eating so much as a child that I literally felt physically sick. When I was 10 years old, I started to play tennis, and I don't know why I just had this idea that I started to play tennis, so I'm going to lose weight, because I felt that my body was an issue. And then so I played tennis and I lost weight, but my relationship never changed with myself. I never thought that I was any better than I was before. It didn't matter how much I weighed, I was never thin enough. I was never good enough. And I grew up feeling like this my entire teenage years. And being a tennis player, if you're a professional athlete, you are not good enough unless you win and you're number one. And even then, that's, you just have to keep pushing forward. And I don't know if it was a healthy thing for me after all. I look back at it, but that's my life, and I embrace it because there's so much that I learned about myself from that too. So when I was 21 years old, I decided that I wanted to explore myself, and I got an opportunity to move to the United States. I came here with $300. I didn't speak the language. I didn't have papers. I was here legally for a long time, and and I remember the very first time I wanted to be free. So that freedom meant to me that I was partying. I got into this together with this group of people that they were partying all the time. So I did that, and I was a part of something, and I was here by myself. So those were my people, and those were my tribes. Those people were my tribes, and we did a lot of partying, and I felt free. But then I didn't feel good. I realized that I'm not doing something good to myself. And in 2006, in 2005, I realized I'm like, if I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing right now, then I'd rather just go back home because I'm just going to kill myself one night. Like, it was such a self-sabotage that I was hurting myself. And I started thinking about going back home. And after I put some money on the side, and I said, I haven't been here being who I am, and what I always wanted to be when I was also a competitive tennis player. I fell in love with fitness. I loved the fitness competitors. I wanted to be that. I wanted to be the one who is going on the stage with a bikini and jumping all around and doing those amazing routines. It was one of my fantasies that I'm going to do that. And so in 2006, I decided to stay, and I signed up for my very first personal training course. At that point, I already had tennis coaching and fitness certifications from Hungary from 2-year schools under working or studying under university. But I didn't have any papers here in America. So I signed up for a whole year personal training certificate, which was National Personal Training Institute. That's the name of the institution. And it kind of helped me to come back to something that was close to me. I mean, even though I didn't really always like to play tennis, or I felt that I was pushed into it, being an athlete was a huge part of my life because I spent so many years there. And I literally had maybe 1 year in my life since I'm 10 years old, or since I was 10 years old, that I did not train and I didn't do some physical activity. So in 2006, I met my ex-husband, we got married, and then from then on, 2009, I got into this situation where I had to decide and realize what's going on in my life. Now, from my childhood, I remember, actually, I'm going to jump back to 2009 because in 2009, I had many different challenges. And besides that, my marriage wasn't necessarily working. I was overworked. I worked 2 jobs. I was taking care of my friends all the time. I didn't have time off. At the same time, I wanted to change myself. I worked in the gym, and I was keep gaining weight. And because I was gaining weight and I was a trainer, I was really embarrassed. And I felt that I needed to work really, really hard so I will look apart and I look the way that I need to be a personal trainer. So I worked extremely hard in the gym while I didn't sleep enough, and I also was eating these like measured foods from these little containers that every single day I packed for myself. So I was in such a strict lifestyle, and there was nothing soft, there was nothing kind, there was nothing joyful about it. It was really about that I had to do this. I have to do this because I need to survive. I had to do this because I need to survive. I needed to be in shape because I needed to live up to those expectations, what we're expecting of me as a personal trainer. I needed to work more because I needed to make more money. I wanted to be there for my friends because I thought that is what it means to be a good friend. And while I was doing all of this, I absolutely fully neglected myself. I was so out of touch with my body, and I think back to those times, I felt empty and I felt disconnected from the inside, and it was really, really painful. My body hurt all the time. I had a muscle tension. I was exhausted. I was super irritable and frustrated and angry. I was resentful. I was resentful to my friends, to my ex-husband, to everything. I was just exhausted. So why did I make those choices? Why did I choose to be in a relationship where my needs were not met? Why did I choose to do an exercise routine and pushing myself to try to prove myself when I was exhausted? Why did I not say no to my friends when I didn't have the energy to be there, because I had to take care of myself and there was no one who was taking care of me? And these were the things that I had to figure out through my healing journey. But I really had to understand what happened to me in my childhood. And it's not necessarily what happened to me that mattered, but what really mattered is, how did I interpret it? What did it mean to me, what happened? So my teacher bullying me, my teacher who's an authority in school, bullying me in front of the whole class for years, that made me feel that I was not good. And in Hungary, a lot of people are extremely negative, and I don't think that actually we have to go to Hungary, because a lot of times we look at people and we see the bad in them. And I felt I was so sensitive to everything, and I was so sensitive to people's words and how they related to me, that even I felt their energy. And I felt that everybody projected back to me that I was bad. When I went through my healing journey a couple of years ago, I remember sitting on the Hudson, by the Hudson, and I just had this really intense conversation the day before with a friend who's a healer too. And just a lot of things were shifting, and a lot of things were happening inside of me. And I was writing in my notebook, and I walked out there, and I just sat down on the bench, and I looked up to the sky, and I realized in that moment, somehow it just hit me, somehow it just came to me, and I saw even a vision in front of me, that I had these pillars on the top of each other, and on the bottom there was one pillar. And I realized that one pillar was that I believed that I was bad. I believed, after everything that happened in my life and what people projected back to me, the way that people talked to me, the way that people treated me, that made me believe that it's not that there was something wrong with me, because I don't think that we think this way. I think that we think good or bad. We are that simple. Is it either good or it's bad? And I thought that I was bad, and I looked at that vision and I was like, oh my gosh, and I was crying. I was crying because I couldn't believe it. I knew that I wasn't bad. Like, when I think about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a huge heart. I'm there for everybody. You know, like I'm probably like bad for myself, trying to be the best for everybody else. But that's the point. That was the point, that in that moment, I just asked myself, I'm like, oh my gosh, if I'm not bad, who am I? Who am I? And the pillars, everything just collapsed right in front of my face. That vision just got switched up with clear blue skies. Clear blue skies. And I was just crying there. And I could not associate one thing about myself that I didn't associate it or link together somehow that I was bad. Every single thing about me, even if I was good, I was bad. There was somehow every single thing inside of me linked to that belief that I was bad. And I was trying to prove myself my entire life. I became a personal trainer because I liked fitness, because I hated myself, because I didn't think I was good enough. I surrounded myself with people, and they are not bad people. They are not bad people. They are great people. But I surrounded myself with people where I developed these dynamics where I was codependent, because I needed their validation, and I didn't have any self-worth, so I put myself under them and I served them as much as I could. And of course, when I served somebody, I felt that it gives me a sense of worth. That was my sense of worth, that I was there taking care of other people. So basically, I had no worth to myself. But my worth was everything that was coming back to me from other people. So whatever other people thought about me, that's what I was worth. And I want to get out of my story right now because I feel that I am not the only one who feels this way. Have you ever felt in your life that if you don't do something, you're not going to be loved? Have you ever felt that way, that if you are not looking a certain way, that you're not going to be accepted? And you felt ashamed living in your own body and being yourself. And we don't realize that our relationship that we have with ourselves, it's actually the base of every other relationship and every other thing, that how we manifest, what we manifest in this world and in this life. The choices that we are making, they are coming from how we feel about ourselves. Every single thing starts with who we think we are and how we relate to ourselves. And the problem is that women, culturally and for so many years, have been undermined, disrespected, and we are still fighting for our rights. But it just becomes a part of us. You know, when even women, when they didn't work at homes, they couldn't really speak up because they were taken care of. The job that women did at homes, it wasn't equal to what men did. And I'm not bashing men here right now. Like, don't even think that I'm bashing it. We are still fighting to believe in our right. Absolutely, we are still fighting. Thank you, Daniela. Yes, we are still fighting to believe that we have worth. And that, you know what, the thing is, what I want to make a point out of it, that we are fighting, but I think that we are doing it wrong. Because we don't need to fight. Because what we own, we don't fight for. We only fight for something that we don't own. We don't need to go against anyone. We need to stand up for ourselves. We need to stand up and understand our worth. But the only way that we are going to be able to do that, if we see our worth, if we recognize our worth, if we understand our own values. When I learned through, that was my healing journey. My healing journey, hi Raquel. My healing journey was not about trying to fix myself. My healing journey was about finding myself. It was about understanding who I was, so I can see myself through my own glasses, that I can see myself through my own visions, my own understanding, so I can hold that picture. When somebody comes to me and tells me that I'm bad, then I can say that no, I'm not. I'm not bad. Because I hold my values and my virtues so close to me. Hi! But it took me a long time to get here. And this weight loss through the soul community is not, ladies, I told you so many times, it's not about weight loss. It's about letting go of the idea that there is anything wrong with you. And just come into your power and say that I am worthy. I am worthy of feeling good. That I am going to take those steps that serve me too. And it doesn't only serve my need to be validated because I don't think that I'm good enough. And I think that a lot of women feel this way. Every single time we think, society tells us that we need to be, I don't know, size whatever to be accepted, and that's the perfect body shape. Who says that? Who figured that out? Who made business out of that? I think that when we believe these systems, that these belief systems that we're hearing from the word and pointing at us, and these judgments, we are giving our power away. But the only way that we believe it is because we also judge ourselves. So what we need to do, it's Stop thinking there's anything wrong with us. Stop thinking that there's anything we need to prove. Stop thinking that our value that our value and worth depends on what we do. It depends on what we think of us, ourselves, our value and our worth. It really depends on the value that we give to ourselves, because that is exactly how we are going to show up. That is exactly how much. I would never have been in an abusive relationship if I had value to myself. I would have just said to the guy, I was like, listen, good luck, buddy. Okay? Take care of yourself. I don't want to have this. If I have self-worth, and if I think that my body doesn't define me, I would have just trained because I want to have fun and I enjoy doing it, not because there was something for me to prove. And because there was something for me to prove, I pushed myself way over my limits, absolutely disconnecting from how I was feeling. I didn't care about how I was feeling. My goal was more important than my experience. So I totally disconnected from my body. I totally disconnected from my soul, my spirit. I disconnected from my truth, my values, my needs in a relationship, my needs in how I want to feel. I was disconnected from everything because the goal was so much more important, because achieving that goal gave me my sense of survival. So I know I am not the only one who does that, because I've been doing interviews for my book. I've been talking to a lot of you, and I hear that we are scared to say what we need, that we feel bad if we are not behaving as a good girl. When we speak up, when we speak our truth. And we believe, when we speak our truth, we believe when people get back to us and telling us that, oh, you're being abusive, you're not supposed to do that. We believe like, oh my gosh, I wasn't good. I didn't do the right thing because I didn't stay quiet. I think that it is really about time that we take the price tag off, rip the price tag off that thousands of years just put on us. And we need to come into our own value and worth so we can make those choices that are going to serve us, and they will serve other people too. Because when women are in their power and in their heart, they are not projecting anything else but love. That's just who we are. That's just who we are naturally, and we are so afraid of that. We are so afraid of that. What I want you to think about, I know that I said a lot here. I talked about what happened to me. I talked about my childhood and talked about this healing journey and what I found out after that. But what I want you to do, I want you to think about what is your intention with what you do. Ask yourself in your relationship, start observing yourself. Don't change anything. And don't be scared of this experience. If you're ready, you're going to do it. If you're not ready, you're not going to do it. It's totally cool. But even if you're not doing it, I want you to know that you are worthy today as you are, and you don't have to change anything. Just please go out there and take care of yourself. In whatever you do, your relationships, with your body, with your health, whatever you do, just go out there and take care of yourself. Love yourself, embrace yourself. Do that. But if there's something more that you want to do, you want to take on this journey, and you want to claim that you do deserve to be happy, and that your experience in this life matters, and that when you have a good experience, you can actually give other people a better experience. If you want to claim that, and if you're ready to take that journey, I want you to just start observing yourself. Observe where you are. What do your relationship mean to you? Look at your relationships. Look at your dynamics. If you are choosing a diet or an exercise program, ask yourself, why are you doing that? Why that particular one? What is it about that? Does it make you feel good? Is it really working for you? Not your mind, not feel good in the mind. That's satisfaction, that's achievement, that's appealing to an idea. But appealing to feeling good inside of you, light and joyful and just full. That's the idea. That's the idea of feeling good. A lot of times we mix up that if something appeals to an idea and we achieve something that feels good, but it doesn't feel fulfilling. You might achieve something and it feels good because you achieved it for 1 second, and then you hop on to the next achievement because it wasn't good enough, it wasn't holding you up for long enough. So now you need another one. It's like a drug that you just keep going, thinking that the next thing is going to give you that feeling that you're looking for. But it's not coming, because it's not coming from outside of you. It's coming from realizing what you already have and who you already are. There's nothing that you need to achieve to really understand your worth. You just need to come into it. Because everybody has it. Everyone, every single person in this world has worth. It's just the problem that we think that we are bad and we don't look at it. So start observing yourself and observe your relationship and observe your whys. Why do I do this? Why is this so important for me? And allow that to start leading you on a healing journey. I'm not even going to give you any more homework with this. I just really wanted to get you started and understand that our choices, everyday choices, go back to our childhood, where we developed a relationship with ourselves through other people's eyes and through the experiences that we had. And it matters what happened. I am not undermining what happened in the past, but it's not necessarily what matters. What matters is that how it changed you, how it made you think that you were not worthy enough, how it changed the way you felt about yourself, and how you went from being a whole being and started to box yourself into these little boxes of rules that you had to fit, the expectations, the rules, the be a good girl, and don't wear the short skirt, and I don't know, whatever it is, or talking about skin color. I was just talking to somebody yesterday about that. It doesn't have to, when we have a problem with our body and our weight, it doesn't have to come from anything that happened with our body. It could come from anything that happened to us that we actually channeled into our bodies because we didn't feel good about ourselves. And when we give ourselves up, and this is actually an extremely important point, I'm going to finish with this. When we give ourselves up, and when we give up our needs and desires, and we start catering for everybody else around us, right? We start doing things for other people, but it's not feeling good for us. It actually causes extreme amount of stress. And I hear a lot of you that you feel anxious and you feel stressed, and you put yourself out there, but you forget to take care of yourself. So, and stress, we all know that when you're stressed, most women gain weight, and stress comes with stress coping mechanisms. We are going to be coping with food. We are going to be coping with, I don't know, sometimes you can't sleep. If you can't sleep, then your hormones go off again. And then maybe it's wine. For me, my choice was wine. That was my choice. And I have had worse choices way back when I was partying. I one day maybe I will write a book about that too. But it's all connected together. And we blame ourselves when we overeat. We blame ourselves when we have the sugar. We blame ourselves when we have the wine. And I used to blame myself too, and I used to judge myself. And then I realized that I was like, okay, I've been doing this for years. It's not working. So what else can I do? And I start asking myself, what's missing? What's going on? And then I realized that I just needed to pay more attention to myself, because I was overwhelmed. I was anxious because I was just giving so much and not enough for me. So it is so complex. It is so this human experience is so complex, and we can't just fix it with a diet and an exercise routine. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna. I've heard so many of you that you lost weight and you felt the same way, that you didn't feel any better about yourself. Maybe just for a moment, just like an achievement, right? What I told you, you achieve something that appeals to the mind, something that you think that you have to do, and then a moment later, okay, now what's next? What's next? So, and the only way that I personally could heal that and fill myself up with myself, it was I filled myself up with myself, nothing outside of me. And not by, and I was trying to still look for proof from that side world while I was doing this. For in the past year, I'm like, but I feel full inside. I don't understand why my life is not full outside, you know. I used to try to just find this proof outside. And then I realized that because I'm so attached to seeing it, that I was constantly seeing what I didn't have, not what I did. And I realized that my life was abundant. So I'm not saying it cannot get better. It will get better. It always gets better. It always gets better or worse. I don't even know. But that's off the topic right now. So I think that I'm just going to finish with that. And Daniela, you said that just observing ourselves is actually a very empowering. Yes, it is. It allows us to truly see what we have. And I can't see the end of it. What we have been doing or not doing ourselves. Yes, it is empowering because we actually gain control back into our lives. We are becoming coming into our power, and we say that my life is really up to me. It is really empowering. So we are going to finish with that. I would love to hear from you, and what I would actually like you to do. And I told that to my mom. I told that to my mom today. I would love you to go out today or tomorrow, whenever, and buy yourself the most beautiful flower bouquet that you can see. Something that you would feel like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I want to buy this. It's so expensive. I want you to go out there and I want you to buy it for yourself. And I want you to look at that bouquet until it's still there. Keep it close to you, in your bedroom, wherever you see it most of the time. And look at that beauty. And understand that beauty, what you see, you couldn't see if you were not beautiful. And just with that, start recognizing your values, because accepting your beauty and accepting, because you see the beauty through your eyes. You can't see beauty through your eyes if there's no beauty inside of you. And if you're not connected to that, it's going to help you to connect back to it. Because sometimes we just have so much pain that we disconnect from this part of us. So go out there, get the bouquet, and please take a picture and post the picture below this video. And then we can celebrate each other's beauty through those pictures. Thank you so much, Daniela, for coming, and Raquel too for being here and holding space for me to share this pretty empowering, I guess, story, and being very open about my story and my life and my healing journey. And let me know if you have any questions, and as always, let me know if you need any support. I will tell you a lot more in a separate video about what's been happening and also how I am going to try to help you. Thank you for watching again.